Picture this: a city buzzing with tension, armed guards a common sight, and a nation on edge. Now imagine the president himself. Yes, the guy running the show, strolling through the crowded streets of the capital. No bodyguards, no armored cars, just him and his red beret. Sounds like a movie, right? Well, this is the real-life story of Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's 37-year-old junta leader who shocked the world with a walk that had everyone talking. Why would a man with enemies at every corner ditch his security? Is he fearless, reckless, or something else entirely? Buckle up, because this tale of courage, controversy, and a city stopped in its tracks is about to unfold. A soldier's rise to power. Ibrahim Traoré isn't your typical head of state. At just 37, he's Africa's youngest leader, a military captain who seized power in a 2022 coup, ousting the previous junta leader in Burkina Faso. This wasn't a power grab for luxury. Traoré kept his soldier's salary, refusing the lavish presidential paycheck. He's a man of action, inspired by Burkina Faso's revolutionary hero Thomas Sankara, who championed self-reliance and anti-imperialism in the 1980s. Traoré's red beret and stern gaze echo Sankara's defiance, but his story is uniquely his own. The context of chaos. Burkina Faso is a nation under siege. About 40% of its territory is controlled by jihadist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, with attacks killing thousands yearly. When Traoré took over, he promised to crush the insurgents and restore security. But the reality? The violence hasn't stopped. Just last week, an Al-Qaeda affiliate claimed to have killed 200 soldiers in a single attack while Traoré was abroad. The streets of Ouagadougou, the capital, hum with tension. Checkpoints, armed patrols, and a population weary of promises. Yet, this is the backdrop where Traoré chose to walk alone. Why no guards? So, why ditch the security detail? For most leaders, bodyguards are non-negotiable, especially in a country where coups and assassinations are part of the political fabric. Traoré's decision wasn't just a stunt, it was a statement. Posts found on X describe similar moments, like when he walked 3 kilometers through Niamey, Niger, mingling with crowds after visiting a factory. In Ouagadougou, his unguarded stroll through bustling markets and dusty streets was a deliberate act to show he's not hiding behind bulletproof glass. He's betting on his popularity, portraying himself as a man of the people, unafraid and untouchable. But is it courage or a dangerous gamble? Main content 2. The day that shook Ouagadougou, a city caught off guard. Ouagadougou's streets are a chaotic symphony, vendors shouting, motorbikes weaving, and the ever-present hum of tension from a nation at war with itself. On this particular day, the capital was business as usual, until whispers spread like wildfire. Traoré's here, and he's alone. Shopkeepers paused, passers-by froze, and phones came out to capture the unbelievable. Ibrahim Traoré, the man leading a junta in a country plagued by violence, was walking through the heart of the city with no security entourage. No sirens, no armored vehicles, just him, his signature red beret, and a calm stride that seemed to defy the chaos around him. The route of defiance. His path wasn't random. Traoré wove through crowded markets, past fruit stalls and textile shops, where locals bartered under the scorching sun. He stopped to greet vendors, shaking hands with stunned merchants who couldn't believe the president was among them. One account from a local news outlet described a moment where he bought a mango from a street seller, chatting briefly about the price of goods. For a leader facing accusations of failing to curb jihadist attacks, this was a masterclass in optics. He wasn't just walking, he was performing accessibility, showing he could connect with the everyday Burkinabe in a way most leaders wouldn't dare. Debunking the invincibility myth. Now, let's clear something up. Traore isn't superhuman. Some might think this walk proves he's untouchable, but that's a myth worth busting. Burkina Faso's history is littered with leaders who thought charisma could shield them. Thomas Sankara himself was assassinated in 1987. Traore's lack of guards doesn't mean he's immune to danger. It means he's banking on his image as a populist hero. Posts from observers note he's done this before, like during a public event in Niger, but each time the risk is real. Jihadists and political rivals don't care about his bravado. This walk wasn't just bold, it was a tightrope act over a pit of snakes. The Verwalzendocha a crowd gathers. As Ibrahim Traoré continued his unguarded walk through Ouagadougou, the energy in the air shifted. Word spread faster than the dust kicked up by passing motorbikes, and soon curious onlookers began to trail him. Market women in vibrant headscarves whispered to each other, clutching baskets of yams and onions, while young men on bicycles slowed to gawk. A small crowd formed, not organized but organic, drawn by the sheer audacity of seeing their junta leader so exposed. Some shouted his name, others just stared, but the scene was electric, a mix of awe, disbelief, and cautious excitement. Moments of connection. Traoré didn't just walk, he engaged. At a busy intersection near the Grand Marché, he paused to talk with a group of street tailors hunched over clattering sewing machines. He asked about their business, the rising cost of thread, and how they were coping with the city's frequent power cuts. One tailor, a wiry man with calloused hands, later told a local radio station he was stunned by Traoré's ease, saying, "He listened like he was one of us, not some big man in a suit." Traoré even cracked a joke about his own worn-out boots, earning chuckles from the growing crowd. These weren't staged photo ops. They were raw, unfiltered moments that painted him as a leader who could blend into the chaos of daily life. The symbolism of the streets. Every step Traoré took was heavy with meaning. Ouagadougou's streets are more than just thoroughfares. They're the lifeblood of a nation grappling with poverty, insurgency, and a fragile sense of hope. By walking among the fruit sellers, the mechanics wiping grease from their hands, and the children darting through alleys, Traoré was signaling something powerful. He wasn't detached in a presidential palace. He chose a route that passed by a bullet-scarred wall, a grim reminder of recent clashes, and yet he walked on, his red beret a beacon in the midday heat. For many, this was a nod to his idol, Thomas Sankara, who famously rode a bicycle to work to stay grounded. Traoré's walk was a modern echo of that ethos, a gamble to win hearts in a city tired of broken promises. Tensions beneath the surface. Not everyone was charmed. Some in the crowd kept their distance, their faces tight with skepticism. Burkina Faso's security crisis looms large. Jihadist attacks have displaced millions, and Traoré's military government has struggled to deliver results. A fruit vendor, interviewed later by an international outlet, admitted she admired his courage but muttered, "Bravery won't stop bombs." Others whispered about the risks. What if an attacker was hiding in the crowd? The absence of guards made Traoré seem approachable, but it also exposed the fragility of his position. Each handshake, each smile, was a calculated risk in a country where trust is as scarce as rain in the dry season. The ripple effect, a city, buzzing with stories. By the time Ibrahim Traoré's unguarded walk ended, Ouagadougou was alive with chatter. In tea shops where men sipped bitter brews under tin roofs, in hair salons where women braided under whirring fans, the story of the president's stroll took on a life of its own. Some recounted how he stopped to help a boy whose bicycle chain had snapped, crouching in the dirt to fix it while onlookers snapped photos. Others swore he handed out small bills to a group of kids selling roasted peanuts, telling them to stay in school. Whether every tale was true or embellished, the walk had ignited the city's imagination, turning Traore into a living legend for some and a reckless enigma for others. The political chessboard. This wasn't just a feel-good moment. It was a strategic play. Traore's walk came at a time when his junta faced mounting pressure. Jihadist attacks were unrelenting. Reports from international outlets noted a recent massacre in the north, where dozens of villagers were killed. Critics argued his government was failing to secure the country, and murmurs of discontent were growing among the military and civilians alike. By walking unguarded, Traore flipped the narrative. He projected strength, not from armored convoys but from vulnerability. Political analysts quoted in foreign media suggested this was a bid to rally public support, especially among the youth, who see him as a break from Burkina Faso's corrupt past. His red beret, a nod to Sankara, was a visual cue that he's fighting for the people, not the elite. The international echoes beyond Burkina Faso's borders, the walk sent shockwaves. In neighboring Niger and Mali, where military juntas also hold power, Traore's move was watched closely. A report from a French news site described how his stroll was debated in West African capitals, with some praising his populism and others calling it a dangerous precedent. After all, in a region plagued by coups and instability, a leader without guards is either untouchable or a sitting duck. Traore's alignment with Russia and his expulsion of French troops in 2023 added another layer. His walk was seen by some as a middle finger to Western powers, proving he didn't need their security advisors to survive. Meanwhile, ex-posts from African diaspora communities buzzed with pride, hailing him as a true son of the soil. The unseen risks. For all its boldness, the walk wasn't without shadows. Traore's enemies aren't just jihadists. Burkina Faso's political landscape is a minefield of rival factions, disgruntled soldiers, and exiled elites plotting comebacks. A local journalist, quoted anonymously in a British outlet, claimed security insiders were livid, arguing the walk endangered not just Traore, but the fragile junta itself. If an attack had happened, it could have sparked chaos, looting, riots, or worse, another coup. The fact that he emerged unscathed only fueled his mystique, but it also raised the stakes. Every vendor he greeted, every hand he shook, carried the weight of a nation teetering on the edge. A symbol of fearlessness. Ibrahim Traoré's walk through Ouagadougou wasn't just a spontaneous jaunt. It was a carefully crafted message etched into the city's dusty streets. His red beret bobbing through the crowds, his easy banter with vendors, and his refusal to hide behind guards all screamed one thing: I'm not afraid. In a nation where fear is a currency, fear of jihadist raids, fear of betrayal, fear of another failed government, Traoré's defiance was a beacon. He wasn't just walking to connect with people, he was walking to rewrite the rules of leadership in a country scarred by distrust. His steps said he trusted the people more than the armored bunkers most leaders cling to. Inspiring the next generation, the impact on Ouagadougou's youth was palpable. Young men and women, many of whom grew up amid violence and disillusionment, saw Traoré as more than a junta leader. He was a symbol of possibility. At a small roadside cafe near the university, students debated his walk over glasses of hibiscus juice. One, a 20-year-old engineering student quoted in a local news piece, called him our Sankara reborn, referencing the revolutionary hero whose legacy looms large. Traoré's choice to forgo security resonated with a generation hungry for leaders who don't just preach change, but embody it. His walk sparked impromptu gatherings where youth chanted his name, their voices carrying through the evening air, blending with the call to prayer. A challenge to the status quo. Traoré's stroll was also a gauntlet thrown at Burkina Faso's entrenched powers. The country's elite, politicians, military brass, and foreign influencers have long operated behind walls of privilege and protection. By walking unguarded, Traoré exposed their detachment. He passed crumbling buildings and open sewers, shaking hands with mechanics and mothers who live the daily grind, not the sanitized world of diplomacy. This was a direct challenge to the old guard, a signal that his junta wouldn't play by their rules. A West African analyst, cited in an international report, noted that Traoré's populism could either unite the nation or alienate powerful players who prefer stability over spectacle. The weight of every step. Each moment of the walk carried a deeper significance. When Traoré paused to admire a street artist's mural of a united Africa, he wasn't just appreciating art. He was aligning himself with a Pan-African vision that rejects foreign dominance. When he waved off a nervous aide trying to hurry him along, he showed he controlled the pace, not the bureaucracy. Even his choice of a simple khaki uniform over a flashy suit spoke volumes, echoing the humility of his hero, Thomas Sankara. But the weight wasn't just symbolic. Every glance over his shoulder, every unfamiliar face in the crowd, was a reminder of the risks. In a country where assassins have toppled giants, Traoré's walk was a high-stakes performance, one that could have ended in tragedy but instead cemented his legend. The final stand. As Ibrahim Traoré reached the heart of Ouagadougou's central square, the crowd around him had swelled to hundreds. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement, and the air crackled with anticipation. Here, in a place where protests and gunfire had echoed in recent years, Traoré stopped. He climbed onto a low concrete platform once used for political rallies and faced the sea of faces: vendors, students, skeptics, and believers. Without a microphone, his voice carried a raw conviction as he spoke briefly, words that would be repeated across the city for days. "We are not afraid, and we will not hide. This is our Burkina Faso." The crowd erupted, some cheering, others raising fists, a moment that felt like a spark in a tinderbox nation. A nation at a crossroads. This was more than a speech. It was Traoré's defining act. In that instant, he crystallized his leadership. Fearless, defiant, and tethered to the people, not the palace. The square, scarred by past violence, became a stage for his vision of a Burkina Faso that could rise above its wounds. But the stakes were staggering. International reports later revealed that security forces were on high alert, with intelligence suggesting jihadist cells had been monitoring the capital. A single sniper, a hidden blade, or a suicide vest could have turned the moment into a massacre. Yet Traoré stood exposed, betting his life on the crowd's loyalty and his own charisma. The gamble paid off, but it exposed a brutal truth. His leadership thrives on audacity, and one misstep could unravel it all. The legacy of the walk, the significance of this moment rippled far beyond the square. Traoré's walk, capped by his impromptu stand, redefined what power could look like in a nation battered by instability. He wasn't just challenging jihadists or political rivals, he was challenging the very idea that leaders must be untouchable. For the people watching, whether in awe or doubt, this was a glimpse of hope, a reminder that courage could still exist in a place where despair often reigns. But it also raised a haunting question. How long can a man walk through fire before he burns? In that sunlit square, Traoré became a legend, but legends in Burkina Faso have a way of becoming martyrs. The heart of the tale. Ibrahim Traoré's unguarded walk through Ouagadougou wasn't just a moment. It was a story that captured a nation's pulse. From the crowded markets to the central square, his bold stride showed a leader unafraid to stand with his people, risking everything to prove he's one of them. We saw a man inspired by revolutionary heroes, defying the chaos of jihadist threats and political traps, and igniting hope in a weary city. This wasn't about politics alone. It was about courage, connection, and a vision for a Burkina Faso that refuses to boo. Whether you see him as a hero or a risk-taker, one thing's clear: Traoré's walk left a mark that won't fade easily. Keep the conversation going. So what do you think? Would you cheer for a leader who walks without guards, or does it feel like a reckless move? Could this be the spark Burkina Faso needs? Or is Traoré tempting fate in a country where danger lurks everywhere? Drop your thoughts below, and let's unpack this wild story together. What's the boldest thing you've seen a leader do? Share it, and let's see how Traoré's gamble stacks up